Boom, boom, boom. And we'll give everybody just a second to come on in the room as we have green check marks all away across the board, waiting on Facebook to pop up. That damn Facebook, Tom. I don't know, man. Some days I feel like I truly can live without it. Other days, it brings us to our viewers.
Yeah, I hardly go on Facebook. I don't know. I've never really bought into Facebook. I like Twitter or X because it's just I'm into the brevity thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. The days of social media, right? I often like looking back at those little short videos, if you will. That's like, remember your childhood when there was this, or that. Well, when we remember our childhoods, Tom, it's not ever with Twitter, MySpace, Facebook. I mean, any of that fun stuff. But we
Yeah.
digress. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday night. It's time for another edition of MHI. I'm Luke Patterson. Joined with me, as always, the one and only Thomas Hall. We've got boots on the ground in Mobile, Alabama, as Chad Jensen and Scott Kennedy are both boots on the ground for MHH, man. Senior Bowl. Day one, day two, officially in the books. Shrine wrapped up last week. We are officially into the offseason, and the college bowl season, if you will, is over. Prospects, scouting, hiring coaches. Man, it must be the week or 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, eh?
Yeah, we're leading up to some big stuff. I mean, everybody's anticipating that free agency is going to be, at least a couple big splashes, and then obviously the draft. I mean, the Broncos have a lot of holes to fill, so I think a lot of fans are excited to see how this offseason goes after the success that they saw last year.
Yeah, expectations, they were immediately exceeded when the Broncos got into the playoffs. They got their butts whipped by the Bills. Speaking of the Bills, I want to get your take on conference championship weekend. There is a lot to get to when it comes to Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Commanders, what to expect out of this Super Bowl here in just a couple weeks. Fast and furious show, and we're going to get right into it. And Mike S. kicking us off right away. Speaking of Alabama's own. What's up, Thomas, Luke, Scott, Dylan, Broncos country? What's up, Mike? We've got some Broncos country representing with you well down in Alabama today, man. It's cool. Tom, as you know, whenever these events happen and you get these different fan bases, you get the scouts together, you get the coaching staffs together, it's cool to see your fan base, but your team specifically represented. And George Payton and Sean Payton not only have eyes down there, but the Broncos have been meeting with potential prospects for the past few days.
Yeah, let's hope that they can find some gems like they found last time with Quinn Miners, Jonathan Cooper. I mean, there's some gems that hopefully they can get out of this that people aren't expecting to turn into something amazing.
What's up, David? $2 over on YouTube. Good evening, Broncos country. Let's go, Bo. Yeah, Dave, I don't know if you guys saw the news as we continue to let Broncos country in the door here on MHI. We'll get to it here in just a sec. Bo Nix, well, he had the opportunity to join the Pro Bowl elite. He will not be doing so. Instead, he opted to have a cleanup procedure. We will get into that in just a second. I want to say hello to some of the folks before we do. Darren Hull over on Facebook, David Yonkin, Danielle Berry Sports Highlight, Pearl Heater. What's up, everybody, on your Wednesday night? It's MHI. Yeah, here's the thing. Bo Nix, these alternates, these Pro Bowl alternates, if you will, they're starting to become a joke. Okay, yeah. Tom, it really starts to bother me. Broncos rookie quarterback Bo Nix was invited to participate in the Pro Bowl games as a fourth alternate, but he had a cleanup procedure, if you will, scheduled for this week on an undisclosed body part, if you will. My mind immediately went to the back, especially when that back injury, he disclosed it at the end of the year presser. What do you make of Bo Nix saying, screw you, to the Pro Bowl?
I love it, man. The Pro Bowl has gotten to be ridiculous. I mean, it's just give them, like an all-star. Don't make them come to the Pro Bowl and do the stuff. Just say, you made the Pro Bowl. Good. We're going to move on. I like that he put, his health and actually the team really in front of his personal accolades, so to speak. He doesn't get a Pro Bowl tally on his awards list because he opted out. But I mean, think about it. they're scraping the bottom of the barrel now to get quarterbacks. You got Russell Wilson and Drake May are the quarterbacks for the AFC. That's getting pretty far down the list for me. But now they've got another Russell Wilson's got a Pro Bowl, another Pro Bowl on his awards list, which is just weird. I mean, you're like the seventh guy down the list, and they're bringing to the Pro Bowl.
Well, speaking of good old Rusty Wilson, is Russ going to be the only Pro Bowl quarterback that's looking for a team to play on next year? I mean, that's how ridiculous this is getting, Tom. And you said it. It's silly. The whole thing is silly. And the fellas last night did a really good show. I think I saw Eric on there with Nick, man. I don't know what's going on. You never know who's going to show up on any one of our shows these days. And they were talking about right guard Quinn Miners respectfully declining a Pro Bowl vote. He was a Pro Bowl first alternate, if you will, but I think Miners is looking at it more from the aspect of, you know what, first team All-Pro, your Pro Bowl, it really doesn't mean squat. Going out there and jacking around with you guys, it really doesn't mean squat. I absolutely love it. So Bo Nix being the second Denver Bronco this week to say, screw you to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really has become, I don't know. It's still an honor, so to speak. So I don't want to call it a complete joke, but when you look at
they don't even play the game anymore. It's dodgeball, right? It's grab ass. It's the most ridiculous thing. Peyton Manning. You think Peyton Manning wants to coach Russell Wilson, Tom? No.
I doubt it. You look at the past, though. You look at when it mattered, before the fan vote, before all these alternates. Those, getting a Pro Bowl award meant something. And now you've got people getting Pro Bowls, and it doesn't mean anything. And they're still comparing them. So when you go to the Hall of Fame, they're talking about their 9 Pro Bowls, but they were an alternate out of 5 of them or something like that. Like that shouldn't hold any weight when you're comparing them to somebody that got a Pro Bowl back in 1991.
That's a good point, though. I guess I didn't think about what it would mean later. I'm so caught up in I need it now. Instant gratification. I need it now. And you're exactly right when it comes to those Pro Bowl votings, or when you're actually splitting those hairs. I think that absolutely can make the difference. And I don't know, man. I like to see it. I think it shows signs of maturity. I think it shows signs of priorities, like you said, and he's a team guy, and you know that he's not in it for the accolades, and I truly believe him. I think some guys need to say that just to be the company guy or gal and say the right thing at what they think is the right time, or, we all hear the regurgitated scripts from PR. I think Bo truly walks his walk and he talks his talk. I think he's authentic. I think that can rub some people the wrong way at times. A lot like his head coach in Sean Payton. And you got to know right now down there in Mobile, and at least last week in Texas, Sean and the Broncos coaching staff and scouting staff, they're asking these young men at ages, 21 through 24, maybe even a little younger, can you play for this football team? Can you meet the expectations that we have, not only as a club, but as a playoff team? Man, that excites me. And that gets me going, because we were just talking about the Broncos in full rebuild mode a season ago. Not so fast. They are officially a playoff team. They are here to contend. I'm excited to see what the hot garbage pile in Las Vegas that is the Raiders produces with Pete Carroll and the what used to be the Seattle Seahawk mojo, if you will. But no, Senior Bowl, I'm pumped to get to it. And guys, speaking of the Senior Bowl, head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Chad and Scott have been down there working hard. Day 2, 5 risers that the Denver Broncos should notice. And really well-written article, fun piece. Bummed not to be down there this year. It's so much fun to watch football, and it's so much fun to watch practice. But Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, I love them because it's so pressure-filled for these guys, right? And to see them succeed, it's fun, man, and it gets me going, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you watch football is fun, even though I don't really want to watch the Super Bowl this year, but it is fun to watch football. And it's nice to, when you see them down, like you talked about, can you live up to the expectations of this team? And there are high expectations, and Sean Payton's demanding excellence because, even though the special teams had improved drastically over the last few years, he still fired that special teams coordinator for a few mistakes. So he's demanding excellence out of this team, and that's what he's down there looking for. Whether you like him or not, whether he rubs you the wrong way or not, that is a sign that says we're not tolerating mistakes. We are going out there to be the best, and if you can't be on board with that, then see you later.
Nobody ever needs to wonder where they stand on the Denver Broncos or with one Sean Payton, whether that's on or off the field. I think Coach makes his thoughts pretty well known. Just like our guy Phil over on Facebook. What's up, Phil? Good to see you, man. Thank you for joining and rocking with us every Wednesday night here on MHI. Good evening, Thomas and Luke. Great news. We do not have to look for a quarterback this year. Buck 'em. MHH for life and Broncos for life. That's right. You don't have to look for a starting quarterback. We think we found our franchise. What do you do with the backup quarterback, Tom? I know this was kind of the tail end of our show last week. We had to really jam it in the last few minutes of our show. You have Jarrett Stidham, you have Zach Wilson. You have a decision to make maybe, or do you just scrap the entire quarterback room with the exception of one Bo Chapman Nix and start all over?
Well, it's funny because when we were talking last week, I said there wasn't one that I would care to lose, one free agent that I care to lose, and it includes both the quarterbacks. My personal preference would be to try and re-sign Jarrett Stidham. He's a backup type quarterback. But on the other hand, I'm kind of thinking, could they keep Zach Wilson and trick some sucker team into thinking that Sean Payton's turned him around and give him a draft pick when they're hurting for a starting quarterback? So I kind of go both ways on that. What are they going to do with those two guys? My mind tells me just go with the reliable Jarrett Stidham, bring him back. But my heart's like, hey, I'd really like to trick some team into getting a draft pick for Zach Wilson.
Maniacal, Tom. I absolutely love it. And Roy coming in here playing devil's advocate in the other half of that argument. Well, you could get rid of Stidham and keep Zach Wilson. And I'm with you, Roy. And hope you're healing well, man. Stay warm out there. I know you're cold. Think about it. But here's the thing. Zach Wilson, man, he gives me a wild hair, right? Because I wonder about his football rehab. We truly don't know. We like to think, oh, he's been rehabilitated and Sean Payton can take credit and send him off just like Jameis Winston and some other Teddy Bridgewater, right? And he'll have another resurrection of a career and make lots of money and be respectable finally. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I want to think it is, but then I also think Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, Bo Nix, they all seem to be buddies too, right? I just got something called Instagram recently in the last few months. Chad's been yelling at me to get it for years now. Well, I finally listened. I got it. I'm turning over a new leaf. And I saw on Instagram, Tom, this is going to shatter your world, the Broncos quarterbacks were vacationing together, right? Apparently their wives are friends. I don't know, man. I like to think a young Zach Wilson, a young Bo Nix, they're practically the same age. Hell, maybe Bo's even older, right? That would be a cool storybook quarterback room, but not so fast. That doesn't exist in the NFL, right? Storybooks. Can Zach Wilson come in crunch time and do what Bo Nix can do? That's the big question, and we have no idea. I think it's worth a shot. Jarrett Stidham, I think those type of backup quarterbacks are truly a dime a dozen. You can go get one in free agency. Hell, maybe you can even draft and develop one in the 6th round, 7th round. I don't know, whatever you got to do. Zach Wilson's got me curious enough that I'd be willing to ask him, do you want to take a little bit of a discounted rate? Because someone's going to be calling on Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and the problem is though, how do you kind of get his name out there in a trade if Bo Nix is healthy and plays every snap? Maybe preseason you can get something, but unless Bo Nix gets hurt and Zach Wilson comes in and plays and looks good, you're not going to get anybody really to jump on board, and nobody wants Bo Nix to get hurt. So, in my mind, you take your chances with either one. I think you bring one of them back. You got to have some consistency in that quarterback room. So you bring one of them back. Hopefully it's, fairly inexpensive and you can, make do with what you got. And like you said, draft someone who can kind of develop into that third quarterback role this year.
When you hit something right there, when you said consistency, my ears perked up. That's something Sean Payton wants. And let's start at the root of consistency with knowledge. Are you proficient in what you're doing? Do you know what the task is? i.e., do you know the freaking playbook? And do you know what Sean Payton demands as a quarterback out of the playbook? Go look it up right now. You could YouTube it. You could Google it. We have articles about it over at milehighhuddle.com. I know Drew Brees, his comments on Sean's playbook have been regurgitated ad nauseum on how complicated some of these play calls are. You have to imagine Sean doesn't want to start all over with some new guy, whether that's in free agency or the draft, especially a young guy. They're not all Bo Nixes out there, right, who are just carrying around a Bible and a football in their backpack ready to learn the Sean Payton system. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at the backup. Michael Davis being patient and weighing in over on YouTube. Thank you for joining us, Mike. I'd be skeptical of trotting Zach Wilson out there for multiple games. Let's hope that Bo Nix stays healthy. And speaking of Bo Nix's health, kind of the theme or the subject of our show, if you will, Bo Nix was invited to participate in the Pro Bowl games as a fourth alternate QB, but he did have a procedure scheduled for this week, opted to go with a routine and minor cleanup procedure. That's per Mike Kliss on an undisclosed body part, Tom. We think it's the back, right? Some crazy injury with his back where he suffered it in the Raiders game, I think, right? And just was an absolute dog the rest of the season.
Yeah.
What else could it be if it's not the back? What would you guess? Just total speculation. Are we dealing with the leg thing? We're dealing with the finger thing?
I don't know. Maybe a knee. They got to scrape the knee a little bit. Something.
Scope.
Who knows? You never know. I mean, they get banged around so much. They're always kind of like some sort of injury going on. So might be a little minor procedure like that. Who knows?
Yeah, so at season's end, Bo Nix revealed that he had suffered 3 fractured transverse processes in his lower back during the Broncos' Week 12 win at Las Vegas. He played through the Broncos' Week 13 victory against Cleveland, then after the bye was cleared from the injury. Important that was in there, right? So the NFL doesn't come after Sean for not disclosing injuries on any of the injury reports. Something Sean got in trouble with years ago in New Orleans, and I think every coach has really gotten in trouble with it, but it's just kind of interesting. And we started talking about it at the top of the show. You know, Quinn Miners definitely snubbed from the Pro Bowl as a first-team All-Pro. Didn't care to participate in the Pro Bowl. Bo Nix opted to complete his health, is get his minor cleanup on whatever procedure that may be. It's a smart move, man. It's got to make you feel good.
Yeah. Again, just going back to it, like, why risk it? Why risk going there? I mean, I remember going. I remember watching the Pro Bowl back when it was still kind of, worthwhile, but they had the rookie kind of beach football thing, and Robert Edwards blew out his knee, almost lost his leg playing around in the Pro Bowl. So, playing beach football in the sand, and that's the kind of stuff that you don't really want to risk to just go out there and fool around for an award that really, I mean, yes, it matters, but when you're the third alternate, fourth alternate, does it really matter that much? I don't know. I just think it's a big risk, for something that if you're really team oriented and you really believe in this team, are you going to go there as an alternate and risk getting injured playing flag football? I don't know. I'm with them. I wouldn't do it. I think they should just kind of get away from it. Just give them the award and that's it. Just say, okay. But it makes too much money, I guess, watching the flag football and the skills stuff, I guess, on TV.
Yeah, it's, they should just make it like NBA All-Star Weekend, right? And here's the thing about NBA All-Star Weekend. I know all the sneakerheads, I like watching basketball just as much as the next guy. Real basketball, not this three-point crap that they do these days. But here's the thing, man. Like, these NBA All-Stars would not be as engaged into the All-Star Weekend, if you want to call it engaged, if it was at the end of their year. All right? Like, if it was optional, I'm almost positive none of those first ballot or whatever you got to call them for the All-Stars would be there. It is an optional thing for the Pro Bowl. It's silly. I know Nikola Jokic for the Nuggets. He hates it. He can't stand the All-Star. It's just another thing for him to go do rather than rest or race horses or, be a god in basketball, whatever the hell that big man does. David Yonka coming in, speaking of big men on our Wednesday nights. What big splash, if any, would you guys want in free agency what could Sean have his eyes on? Tom, what do you think? If you had a pie in the sky free agent for Sean Payton, don't talk to me about the cap. Don't talk to me about your reason and your logic. A pie
Yeah.
in the sky free agent. What do you think?
Well, it's not really pie in the sky. I mean, none of them really are. They need to get a wide receiver. So, like T. Higgins would be kind of a big splash guy. Then also, there's a running back. The Broncos need to change up that running back room. You've got someone like Najee Harris that's still young out there. He might be considered kind of a big splash. But I think they need to go out and address, they need to go find an inside. I think the inside linebacker room is going to be completely different. I think they're going to maybe keep one guy, and I think that was last year's rookie, number 56, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I think he might still be around. But I think Singleton coming back from that injury may not stick or be around, and I don't know if Barton and Sternad are going to be around. So, I mean, I'm looking for like an inside linebacker type, not expensive, but it might be considered a big splash if you go out and get someone like that to kind of fill out that room with somebody who's, not going to blow the game.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, T. Higgins jumps to the top of the list. Obviously, Chris Godwin's up there. I think, I don't think the Broncos defense wants to spend a whole lot of money out of the house when you already need to commit to Nick Bonito. You just paid Pat Surtain a boatload. You did get Jonathan Cooper done, and it didn't kill you. I don't know. I don't know if he has any trades worked up his sleeve. I know that the Bills and Amari Cooper want to talk again, considering they had some really nice success late end of the year, right, with the trade deadline, Cleveland and Buffalo. So maybe that's a wide receiver you look at, even at 30 years old. I don't know. I think it's interesting. Some of these defenders I want to look at, but then I still wonder what's the future of the defense look like, Tom? I mean, the Broncos just lost a couple of assistant coaches, right? I mean, you texted me right before we got on our show, breaking news. The New York Jets are hiring Chris Banjo as their special teams coordinator. Banjo, of course, was the Broncos' assistant special teams coach these past 2 seasons. Lot of experience as an assistant in the league, but another one bites the dust for the Broncos.
And it's interesting to me because the Broncos fired their special teams coordinator, and Sean Payton he liked Banjo, but not enough to try and keep him around, because that would have been an easy promotion. He was on my list of potential replacements for special teams coordinator for Denver, but he's gone, and I don't think Sean Payton really tried that hard to keep him. So I think that all of the eggs are in one basket for special teams coordinator. I think Sean Payton wants to get Darren Rizzi, and they're still kind of holding out, waiting for the new, the final news of the head coaching and all that coaching staff to drop there. But I think that's who he's wanting, and that's he's not out there exploring any other options right now. I think that's the guy, and hopefully they get him, because I don't want another situation where they wait too long and then there's no coordinators left. And guess what? It's like the Vance Joseph thing all over again when Sean was hired. So go out there and get somebody that you want, and hopefully it won't take too long.
No, that's just it, man. You gotta really make sure you're doing your homework, not only in free agency, not just your college scouts, your pro scouts. You can make a lot of hay very quickly when you're already cherry picking some veteran players, whether they're on special teams, offense, defense. You're able to find and identify these guys and scoop them up off the waiver or in free agency or via a trade for some late picks. You got to do it. I mean, you can see how quickly things can change. And if you're tired of that old rhetoric, and if you're not necessarily the biggest NFL fan, I know we got hockey fans in here, basketball, baseball, right? We got all kinds of MMA, boxing, all kinds of fans in the room right now. I would say this: it's truly the league of parity. And case in point, I'm not just going to point to the Denver Broncos in the season that they had, but the Washington Commanders, Tom. The Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship last weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles, in a game that I enjoyed for the most part, right? For the most part, I enjoyed the game. I mean, it's things can go that quick. It pays to do your homework. Just like our guy David Yonkin, always doing his homework, trying to figure out how we get this Broncos squad back to the promised land, saying I would get rid of all the tight ends because the Broncos didn't do anything Get the tight end from the Saints. Yeah, you got one of them already, right? With Troutman, yeah, tight end and running back. That's the thing, and it's kind of interesting, right? I checked in with my guy, my good friend, my neighbor Cecil Lammy, right? Checked in with him, and he did confirm the Broncos have checked in. They have spoken with whatever we got to say with Kansas running back Devin Neal. They also checked in with Bowling Green tight end Harold Fanine or Fannin. Hopefully, I'm not butchering that. So they're looking at some of those positions of need. You have to imagine they're going to address it. Tight end's another one of those, Tom, where you're going to have to do both. You're going to have to get one in free agency. You're going to have to get one in the draft at least. And then you got to figure out what you're going to do with the fullback, right? I almost professed my love for Michael Burton last week and why we need him back. Well, it's because you don't really have a tight end. Quality tight ends, a true Y maybe, that would solve a lot.
Yep. No, you're right, David. The tight end room needs to be remade as well. It was very lackluster. There was really not much production. And that was one of my keys for them for next year is to go after and get a tight end who can make a bit of a difference, who's got some potential. I mean, none of them did last year. So, you got to go out. I would say that you might have Nate Adkins return, but I don't know if Troutman's coming back. I don't know if, Kroll is, he's the free agent. He's probably not coming back. So you're
from the Saints as well, as Scott's reminding us. I completely forgot.
So you're going to have to get a free agent tight end. You're going to have to draft one and then maybe hope that Adkins can kind of keep developing.
Now, it'll be interesting to hear, too, as the week progresses, how Oregon Ducks wide receiver Tez Johnson is doing. Why would we care about Oregon Duck wide receiver Tez Johnson? Well, because he's Bo Nix's brother. All right, so sometimes if you're a quarterback, you can have a little influence. And I'm not saying they're going to draft him just because Bo would want him here, but they did take a shot on Troy Franklin. And they do need some help at wide receiver. Now, I'm hoping that they're not continuing to go young because at a certain point, we need to start to get this gap between our really old man and Cortland Sutton and the rest of the young pups. And we need to get some sort of balance there. But no, here's some interest from Tez Johnson, who seems to be getting open over there at the Senior Bowl with the folks I've checked in with. And I'm sure Scott, Chad, I'd be curious to see what they have to say earlier in the week as well. What do you think, man?
I think that the Broncos shouldn't fool around. I think they should go round one and get a playmaker. If that's a wide receiver, great.
Wow.
I don't want to messing around with day 3 picks right now because that was a big weakness on this team. Wide receiver, a true number 1 wide receiver who can make a difference is what they're missing, along with the tight end, along with the running back. But in the offense that Sean Payton has, I think the wide receiver is probably your biggest need, and go out round 1 and get one.
Wow, Tom, round 1, man. That gets me excited because I know you wouldn't just recklessly call for a round 1 wide receiver. I mean,
normally, no.
That's exciting, man, to hear, the Broncos, when you think about it, go 2024, round 1 QB, 2025, round 1 wide receiver. Man, that opens up some possibilities, especially for your cap and your contracts, hopefully later down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason, I'm usually a day 2 kind of wide receiver guy. Round 2 is, statistically speaking, that is a better hit rate for the compared to round 1 for the money kind of thing. Using that premium pick, wide receivers in round 2 usually kind of rise to the top. But I just watched the Broncos all year, and they just had a lack of difference makers at wide receiver. And Bo needs somebody to throw to. So go out there and get it, and hope that you don't miss another wide receiver in round 1.
So we all have our favorites when it comes to, I don't know, analysts, people we listen to, right? Anyone who says, no, I'm completely objective 100% of the time, they're lying. We all have friends. We all have favorites. We all have things we don't prefer. Daniel Jeremiah is one of my favorites. I think DJ does an exceptional job. I had the chance to meet him once. He's a great dude, good gentleman. I like his work. Tom, why is Daniel Jeremiah mocking the Denver Broncos to use their first-round pick on a South Carolina safety defense? Does
Yeah.
DJ remember? I mean, former scout with the Eagles, right? Does DJ remember this is a Sean Payton-led team? No way the Broncos go defense. What's Daniel Jeremiah thinking?
I mean, I guess, when he's doing his big board or something, possibly that was the best player available. But I mean, when you're looking at what the Broncos absolutely have to have, it's one of the three skills players that I mentioned: running back, wide receiver, and or tight end. And then you focus on the defense later. Heck, go out and get a stopgap safety if you're that, in free agency, if you're that worried about PJ Locke or something. I mean, try and develop some. You got JL Skinner, who you drafted, who had promise but hasn't done anything. Are you going to develop him? I mean, there's some other options when you look at the makeup of this team. Safety is a need, but is not the one of the top three needs in my mind.
Yeah, and it's not a need like this second. It's not
Right.
the thing that's keeping it's not what lost the game for him in Buffalo. Okay, and
Right.
I've been very excited with Brandon Jones, man. I'll be honest. The Brandon Jones signing, trading for Jonathan Franklin Myers, picking up Malcolm Roach. Man, I slept on all three of those moves, Tom, and
Me
that
too.
was huge kudos to Sean and the Broncos pro scouting department, who went out and identified not only the needs. We all know the needs of this team. That's no big secret. Okay, it doesn't take a per source guy on the radio to tell you that. Here's the thing: figuring out where you can get your best bang for your buck, where you can strike gold where everyone else is mining for dirt. I mean, that's truly it. And that's what makes it so damn difficult. The NFL draft, the offseason, free agency, the trade market. Man, it's exciting, it's frustrating, and it brings with it a whole bunch of action. David, circling back around over on YouTube. Thank you, Dave. Dave saying, listen, I would get a veteran running back, draft a running back, get a vet tight end, draft a tight end. Then you get a vet inside linebacker, draft an inside linebacker. So it's the theory of twos, right? You get a young one and you get an old one. And I'm right there with you, Dave. I'm looking for a little bit more of a youth movement at the linebacker position, Tom. Maybe you talked me into it a little bit. I've been sitting on it the last week and talking about a linebacker potential overhaul for the Denver Broncos, with or without Vance Joseph.
Yep. Well, here's the thing that I totally agree with you, David, on the one running back and the tight end. I sort of agree with you on the inside linebacker, but only if they don't do this. If they decide that they're not going to move Drew Sanders back to inside linebacker. I think you've got two in-house options that you hope have developed and can step in. If Drew Sanders is one that I mentioned, if they move him back and keep him at inside linebacker, I don't know if they're going to do that. If they don't, then you definitely have to go draft a linebacker and get a vet. But I also think that it was LaVelle Bailey, that someone who that they really liked. They kept him. They liked him from preseason. He's not a great run stuffing, rangy type linebacker, but he's pretty solid in coverage, and he has a knack for making big plays when it matters. And I remember talking to Carlo Mecklenburg way back when, and I asked him what, the difference between the defense one year and next year. And he said the defense in the fourth quarter, they make plays that matter. Some quote like that. And that's what makes the difference between a great defense and an okay defense or a good defense. And if you got someone like Bailey who has that knack for making the big play when it matters, you got to try and develop him. That's his college tape. That's coming from college. So does it translate to the NFL? That's a big question. But I think you got two in-house options. If they want to develop them, then you go get yourself an experienced guy and maybe wait till next year to try and draft an inside linebacker.
Well, and that's a very fair and I think even-keeled approach to looking at it, because when you do look at the free agency market that's coming up, right, and that's always subject to change, you look at players that are a little bit longer in the tooth, right, like a Levante David. What does his future hold if the Bucs truly let him go? Some of these guys, Khalil Mack on the outside, right? I mean, you want to take a chance there? It's interesting when you start looking at the outside, the inside linebackers. Man, that's a little bit tougher to find. William James Baker coming in from across the pond, our good friend WJB. A couple of trades might need to happen. Tight end, I still like. Henry is cheap. Or David Njoku could be a good choice. Higgins free agency should be considered. Will, here's the thing, man. You're onto it, and I was wrong, Tom. I know, right? It's the second time ever. I was wrong. And what was I wrong about, you may ask? I was saying, no, don't go get David Njoku. No. Broncos don't need David. Yes, they do. And I think David Njoku, I don't know what his contract situation is. We could Google it real quick. But, man, I don't think that's something I would scoff at 2 times around.
I think his contract, when everybody was talking about it, was prohibitive for Cleveland to trade him. But if this year, if they do a post June 1st trade designation, it may be easier to handle. I don't know all the specifics about his contract now, but it was a bit prohibitive last year, which is why I thought they're not going to let him go unless somebody gives them a bunch of draft capital so they can eat that contract. But now maybe it's worthwhile. But remember this too: no team has an all-star at every position. You've got to make do sometimes with what you have. You've got to develop your young guys. So tight end is one that you've got to go address, but some of these other positions, you're just going to have to live with what you got, because the Broncos can't go out in free agency and replace every weak spot that they have. They've got to choose a couple big ones and then some, lower end versions of somebody that might be able to contribute, because they do have some cap, but with a salary cap, you just can't go out and just spend. So hopefully some of these young guys step up. I'm looking at Bailey, who I talked about, steps up. I'm looking at Uwazurike. Hopefully he steps up. And I'm also looking at JL Skinner. Those are 3 guys that I want to step up and not have to go spend that money in free agency in order to replace the kind of the weak spots.
JL Skinner, another guy that Scott and I were there for at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago. And my very first shrine, 4 or 5 years ago, I went down with Cecil and Ozzie Newsome, man. Don't YouTube scout. I will never forget that. And so that's so cool, man, that we have boots on the ground. Chad Jensen, Scott Kennedy. Stay tuned to milehighhuddle.com. Stay tuned to the Mile High Huddle podcast. Those boys will be chopping it up with ZK, bringing you all the ins and the outs from the Senior Bowl. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Chad's got a notebook up right now. Roy's got a very pressing question for you, Tom. Where's your brown hat that you used to wear? I thought it was cool.
I still got it. I still got it. My cowboy hat.
Will Ferrell's up there talking with Snoop Dogg after Snoop Dogg. He's like, "Come on, Snoop a loop," and he's talking to the Archbishop Don the Magic Wand. And he goes, "You bring your green hat." No, the brown hat. Can I take a stab at this one, Tom?
If you want, go for it.
I think it's a summer thing. I think it's a summer hat. Now, Tom was a cowboy in his youth, so I don't think Tom just wears that hat just for the fashion statement. I think Tom is a man of many practical uses, and something tells me that hat only comes out in the high beam sun weather.
Yeah, I love wearing that hat, but, the reason why I don't wear it on this show is because we have this cool merch right here that you can get at the merch store, Mile High Insiders hat. And so I wear it on here to support our Mile High Insiders podcast. But yeah, I still wear it. Now that I don't do Legends of Mile High, I used to wear it on there every morning. But I still got it. I still wear it and I still love it. But yeah, you're right. It definitely helps in the sun.
I love it. That just brought us right into a shameless plug. MHHmerch.com. Get your swag on MHI. One of the coolest logos that we have right now. You can also grab yourself a Broncos for Breakfast coffee mug. Every show has some merch. Go take a peek. Cody Dubbs coming in. What's up, Cody? Haven't seen you in a bit, bud. David Njoku resigned, I believe. Jawan Johnson, please. Jawan Johnson scouted the former Oregon wide receiver, but when he was still a wide receiver, before the conversion, if you will, right? And Sean Payton guy. He was my very first Shrine Bowl guy that I wrote up. Jawan Johnson, man. I would love a Jawan Johnson type here. A joker. Maybe he's your joker, right? Scott and I made fun of Sean Payton a good 10 minutes after the show ended last week, and we will continue to do so until Sean officially cans the joker position. Look, the Broncos have to figure something out at tight end. They do need to address it in the draft. They do need to address it in free agency. Juwan Johnson, not sure what his contract situation is. If he is a free agent, and I am pulling it up right now, man, I would take a serious stab at that. I know he's had some injuries, but it makes me wonder if you're an incoming free agent. Remember when the Broncos were just a flyover? I don't think so. Nah, we'll pass. Unless you're getting the absolute bag. Man, if you're a tight end, a wide receiver, even a running back coming in, you want to play with Bo Nix?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the big question back when it was, DJ Reader was choosing between Cincinnati Bengals and the Broncos. And the question was, do you want to go play with Drew Lock? Do you want him as your quarterback? And obviously DJ Reader chose to go to the Bengals, smartly so. But yeah, I mean, this is a different team now. Obviously playoffs, expectations are higher. Demanding excellence from the top down. I think free agents are going to want to come here. And I do think that the Broncos have to go out and sign at least one. If you have to pay through the nose, pay through the nose. They need one difference maker on offense, one real threat to break a game open on the offense.
They're gonna need a few. All right, one. Okay, I'm going with you. Let's just say one. They hit. Let's say they hit on only one this draft, which would be a travesty. It'd be horrible. Let's just say the draft. They hit on one. Which one would you rather it be? Wide receiver, running back, or tight end?
Wide receiver. I still think that's a big.
Bo needs it.
Yeah, because you can get someone in free agency to run the ball. I mean, obviously this Broncos rushing attack was anemic at best, but you can still go out and try and find a vet who can tote the rock and get you some yardage. The wide receiver group was the spot where I felt like needed the most upgrade to help your young quarterback. And again, it's a passing league. I know that the running backs are making a difference. They're talking about Saquon Barkley, and they're talking about Johnson. They're talking about getting King Henry, and there's a big resurgence for running backs. You can find a serviceable running back if you can get someone who can actually read the hole and make a cut now and again, and get some yardage. But the wide receiver, to me, in Sean Payton's offense, is the number one priority to find a difference maker at wide receiver. And I know they had a nice season from Sutton, and I know Vele, was a surprise rookie, but really most of that group is lackluster. I mean, I like Cortland Sutton, and I always have. I like how he goes after the ball, but he does not scare defensive coordinators. The Broncos need, I think that's number one priority. However they get it, free agency or draft, it's wide receiver.
Well, we're operating on the assumption that because the Broncos were healthy this year, they're going to be healthy next year, right? A lot of their starters. I mean, Cortland Sutton goes down, then what? Then what? I mean, then he comes back, and who knows what he goes down with, and there's a lot of what ifs. And David, man, appreciate you so much over on Facebook. Good evening, gentlemen. Everybody give these men a like. Smash the like, subscribe. We have a podcast on every single night at 6 p.m. Mountain in Broncos country's time. We appreciate everybody, man. Wherever you guys get your podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, X. I mean, we're on all the platforms. Don't forget to head on over to milehighhuddle.com if you'd like to reach out to Tom over on X. That's at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Don't forget the mothership at Mile High Huddle. And yeah, the Broncos have some more work to do on their staff, right? We're talking about what kind of players they're going to be bringing in via free agency, who they're scouting, who they're talking with at the Senior Bowl. They've got some assistants and some holes there. They let go of their inside linebacker a few days ago, inside linebacker coach, rather. They have a passing game coordinator gig that's open, tight end coach, special teams coordinator, assistants to the special teams coordinator. I mean, 5-6 different jobs. Tom, I think that when I heard the news that Broncos inside linebacker coach Minuski was dismissed, that meant that Vance Joseph is staying. And that was the head that had to roll on the D.
Yeah, and I think they weren't happy with their inside linebacking crew. They just weren't, and they're gonna like I said, they're gonna remake the whole thing pretty much. I'm in the middle of finishing up an article just about who can be replacements for some of these positions. But I'm going to give you two kind of would be surprises if that happened. And for inside linebacker, and I know he's coaching in the United Football League or whatever it's called, the USFL, whatever it's called now. Mike Nolan, that would be a surprise for me. He has history with Sean Payton. Sean Payton loves to bring in these people who have had a lot of experience. Nolan's been around for a long time, very well respected head coach a few times. If they could somehow pry him away with like some sort of assistant head coaching job or something, that'd be a surprise. I don't think it's going to happen, but be on the lookout for someone like that. But I think they have a lot of in-house people as well.
That's interesting, and never say never. And I didn't know that. I'm looking him up, a UFL Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
in 2024, Matt. So you're right. Connection is everything in the NFL, and as you're going down that turnpike of Sean Payton and familiarity, Mike Kliss is reminding us over on X that if Mike McCarthy or Kellen Moore become the Saints head coaching hire, then Darren Rizzi may become the Broncos special teams coordinator and bring along longtime assistant Phil Galliano. That was a couple days ago, or just yesterday, rather, before Chris Banjo became the Broncos special teams coordinator tonight, right before the show. So, yeah, the Broncos have some work to do. Wouldn't be shocked if we had some more Saints come marching in here in Denver, Colorado. But hey, what happened with Dennis Allen? Is he still out there? Did somebody nab him yet?
He is still out there. I don't think they're going to bring him in because I imagine he's going to be getting a defensive coordinator position. I don't think he's going to go for something lower than that. And Vance Joseph.
The Bears the Bears got him.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, I Googled it real quick. Yeah, just to make sure that we hadn't missed it. It looks like the Bears hired an OC and Dennis Allen as a DC about 2 days ago. So it must have just happened on Monday.
The Bears got the tight end coach from the Broncos as their OC.
Is that who it was?
I believe that's who. Yeah, I think that's where he went. So that's why there's the tight end coach opening. He got promoted to offensive coordinator, and so now they're looking for a tight end coach. So
Sean Payton must be doing something right.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people were surprised that he made that jump, especially with the tight end group that the Broncos had. But he's young up and comer, I think, from what I understand, and they gave him a shot.
Well, maybe there's some connection there too with Johnson, right? I mean,
maybe
maybe they're old college chums, or came highly recommended, or my brother or my dad played with him, or it's all a small world here in the league. And Cody Dobbs coming back in, bringing in a true wide receiver one takes the pressure off of Sutton. It's always funny to go off of the social media, Cody, and I love it too, because when the Broncos lost to the Bengals in last December in a thrilling overtime game, it was funny to see Sean and Cortland and Bo kind of talk to T. Higgins, right? And we all wanted to kind of speculate, like, hey, come to Denver next year. Hey, our orange would look a lot better on you. Like that sort of a thing. It's kind of cool to think about that. T. Higgins, I don't think maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think T. Higgins has ever finished a full season healthy.
There are some injury concerns with him for sure.
Yes. So
maybe he needs to get some of that Bo Lowry mojo in the Broncos Mile High City in order to finish out the full season.
Now, he does pretty well when you look at his stats. I mean, it looks like he averages about 14 games a season, maybe 13. So he is available. But, Cody, you're right. Bringing in a true wide receiver one takes the pressure off of Sutton. But who are you bringing in? Right? I mean, one of those two guys, is it going to be a Chris Godwin, who also has some injury history? Is it going to be a T. Higgins? What do you do at the tight end position? I really like Juwan Johnson there. Tyler Conklin, not so much. He'll be impending. Austin Hooper, I'm good. Man, Zach Ertz played pretty well at the ripe age of 34, and I don't know. You kind of have that player already in terms of the veteran, not really the receiver with an Adam Troutman. I don't know. I think I'm so desperate for an upgrade, Tom, at the tight end position that, like, I'm just pretty much willing to like throw a dart at the tight ends here and be like, let's do that. I mean, Tommy Tremble is already going to be a tight end. The cat out of Notre Dame with 4 years of experience. I mean, he hasn't really burst onto the scene. It's just here we go again. John Bates. I mean, I don't know. I'm just so ready for the Broncos to finally have a tight end. I wonder what Sean prioritizes more: the wideout, the running back, or the tight end.
I think his wide receiver. I imagine. I don't think he was very completely happy with that crew. I think he's going to want to bring somebody in, but maybe it's another one of those Brandon Jones, Malcolm Roach kind of role player that comes in and surprises everybody. Who knows? It'd probably be a lackluster free agent signing at the time, but then we're in week 7, we're like, man, surprise.
Yeah, that's just it. So maybe have a little bit of faith in some of these names that may not be hot on the press right away. Because we were heeing and hawing about some of those moves. Like, really? Never really heard of them. So what? That means they're not going to be good? No, not at all. I mean, I love how John Gruden called them the anonymous crush. That was one of my favorite gets of the last regular season, because he's like, man, the guys who are in this world, they know what they see. And then there's everybody else. And I was everybody else with some of these guys. I'm like, I wonder how that'll work out. That was interesting. Are we making moves just to make moves, or are we truly building? And the Broncos are building quick. And that's what's making it truly exciting, man. And that's why I love that we're not talking about quarterback. Instead, we're talking about our quarterback saying, screw you to the Pro Bowl. I'm having whatever procedure done. Bo Nix cleaning up some minor procedures, if you will, on an undisclosed body parts that was already scheduled before he was officially offered the 4th alternate position on the Pro Bowl, if you will. Broncos are trying to hire some assistant coaches that continue to get promotions in the league. And the Broncos are in Mobile, right? They're in Texas. They're all over right now on the hunt for the next Bronco rookies. And it's an exciting time, man.
You know what I'm excited about is we're talking about free agents. We're talking about draft picks who can be that next difference maker that gets them into from where they are playoffs to contention. Before, we're just like, we need to find somebody just to get us to a winning record kind of thing. When is that going to happen? As fans, that's what you're talking about. Now you're talking about key pieces that can get them over the playoff hump. They've made the playoffs. Now you got to put those together. That is exciting to me, because next year should be much better if they can find a couple of those key pieces. And that's why this offseason is really important on hitting on like 2 really good stars. That's what I'm hoping for, that somehow they find 2 stars, either free agency or draft, or a combination of the 2. They got to get 2 playmakers that can come in, and then hopefully some of these other picks that they make can develop into something and down the road, but they need 2 right out of the gate.
Yeah, speaking of stars, Pearl Heater coming in with some love. Love you guys. We love you guys, man. Wednesday night, man. I need it. I look forward to it. Life is so damn crazy that I appreciate the opportunity and platform to come scream at Tom every Wednesday night, man. We have so much fun on this damn show, and you guys are truly what make the show go around. It's just so much fun, man, that we're almost – the Broncos are in the offseason, right? The rest of the NFL is almost there, with the exception of 2 fan bases. I didn't want to spend this whole show on this, which is why I want to just get to it on our way out. Conference championship weekend. I had a blast watching the Commanders and the Eagles for most of that game. Fairly competitive early on, and then the Eagles eventually took the lead and never looked back. Pretty impressive to see what Washington can do with a first-year head coach in Dan Quinn there in Washington, and a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Tom, the elephant in the room, Chiefs, Bills. I mean, talk to me.
Well, it just makes me not want to watch. It's just number one, I can't stand the Chiefs. So unless you're a Chiefs fan, I don't think anyone's really happy about what happened. You're getting it's a little bit of a Chiefs kind of fatigue, but on top of it, it does seem like the refs have altered the Chiefs' trajectory through calls that they make during the game that look to me like it's an unfair advantage. They don't seem to be consistent with the other team. I think they make too many mistakes in favor of the Chiefs, it just makes me not want to watch it. I just, it's like it's a bad product when you look at that. It's like it almost feels fixed. And I know that there's not a script to the NFL, but when things like that happen, it feels like they've already kind of decided it. So why watch?
I hate to agree with you, but I feel the exact same way, Tom. And I love doing a show with you. I love being friends with you. You're one of the smartest people I know, and you invoke response. You invoke responses out of me that not a lot of folks do. And as you're explaining your discontent with the referees, with the Chiefs, with some of the fatigue, I try to think 3 words. What could I pull from this? And those 3 words are this: it's egregious, it's remarkable, and it's disappointing. It's getting really old. I think that it's one thing when you already have the best quarterback head coach combination in the game. Patrick Mahomes may arguably go down as the best quarterback to have ever lived. I'm not sure. I don't know what his entire body of work is going to look like. But I acknowledge it as a guy that covers the Broncos, as a Broncos fan. I acknowledge the greatness of that team. I acknowledge that they're already a dynasty, right, with just 2 Super Bowls. They're here, and they're here to stay, and I give them their respect. But for crying out loud, they don't need any more help.
Right.
It used to be the story that it was just Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, right? It was just those 3. They carried the Chiefs. Last I checked, Tom, they not only have a respectable defense, but they have a defense that gives their opponents hell. They have a defense that the last 2 years has really helped Pat Mahomes more than it's hindered him. And to the start of his early success as a young quarterback in the league. So I'm with you, man. And I don't like that. I don't like going after the league, but I got to keep it real. This isn't one of those shows where we're just going to regurgitate everything and say, well, Philly still has a chance because they have Saquon Barkley. I think overall, yes, I think we're all rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're a very good team. They're not as well coached as the Chiefs. They don't have as good a quarterback as the Kansas City Chiefs. So for the love of me, I can't figure out why the league already has to ruin and water down the number 1 product in the world. I don't get it.
Yeah, and on top of it, like from my perspective, and I'm it's a rival, but I don't know why they glommed onto Patrick Mahomes as the kind of the golden boy. He's not very likable. I mean, Josh Allen is so much more likable to me. Why not? Yeah, why do they got to like kind of make sure that Pat Mahomes is always the the star and go, making sure that he gets all the calls. I don't like any other team. You know that. I don't root for any other team. I root against certain teams all the time when the Broncos aren't playing. But to me, like Josh Allen seems so much more likable, and he puts out a quality product too. Why they decided that Pat Mahomes has to be kind of like put up on a different level when it comes to getting calls and all of that? It boggles my mind.
Well, and something that we don't talk about, but should be acknowledged as well, the rules have changed too. All right. Like it's not just like Pat Mahomes is the only quarterback that can't get hit below the waist on this specific circumstance or can't be touched in the face. No, none of them can. All the quarterbacks get much better preference and treatment than they have, except Jared Goff. That guy continues to get killed every single year. I don't know how he's still alive, to be honest with you. I mean, I just don't understand it. It really bothers me. I've got so many friends like you, Tom, where the friendships are fun to talk about little pointless prop bets, or you've got some side action against your buddy, or you're talking trash or something like that. Super Bowl parties, right? And we're all kind of looking at each other like after the conference championship weekend, like, well, we all have to work the next day after Super Bowl Sunday. Do we really want to get together to watch what we already know is going to happen? It's going to be a crappy halftime show, and the Chiefs are going to get favorable calls, and they're probably going to win, right? I hate saying that. This is the NFL. I hope it's a fair game. I hope that some of the heat from the national media, from the NFL fan bases outside of Kansas City, I hope some of that can get to the NFL. The only way that I think they can truly make a difference is through ratings and through viewership. And something tells me the ratings are still going to be really high. In the Super Bowl just a couple weeks ago, I don't know if people are going to ultimately back that up by not tuning in.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it does seem I would never bet on that. When the Chiefs are playing, I would never put any money on it because it does seem a little bit one-sided. So I think having from my perspective, having the Chiefs like always there is just it kind of wears you out to watch football. And I love watching football. I'll watch all sorts of football, but I just have no desire to watch the Super Bowl whatsoever.
Well, the commercials have changed, right? The product, we're living in a different world. And sometimes that's hard for me, Tom, because I'm just all about nostalgia, dude. Like I'm all about like those little things that mean so much in the big moment. And Cody, wrapping up our show, tying a big red bow on it. The Mahomes versus Allen commercial before the game. Puke. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And Josh Allen, man. Josh freaking Allen. I'm wearing my obituary Wyoming hoodie just for JA there. No, he said it. You got to beat him, and in no way, shape, or form. And I'm speaking for you, Tom. Are you saying that the Bills deserve to win and the Chiefs just screwed them over? No, the Bills did not deserve to win. But hot damn, the Chiefs don't need any help. NFL.
That's right.
And that's officially where we're at. Guys, that's a wrap for this Wednesday night. If you'd like to reach out to Tom over on X, that's at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Don't forget to subscribe to this pod wherever you get it. Spotify, iTunes, Twitch, YouTube. We appreciate all the comments. Smash the like button as well. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com. We have boots on the ground in Mobile, Alabama, as Chad Jensen and Scott Kennedy are there covering the Senior Bowl. Chad's got a notebook up right now over at milehighhuddle.com. We got to get these pod numbers up at MHI_pod over on X. Go ahead and follow us. We'd really appreciate it. Tom, another good show. Next week is Super Bowl week and the first official February action of the Broncos calendar, if you will. A lot more to get to in the upcoming off season.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of happy that January is going to be over. It's been a long, rough month, so I'm happy for that. And I'm actually it's one of those things where I'm excited. I always tell you, don't rush the next season. I've been trying to tell you that for years, and you're like, I can't wait for the preseason. I can't wait for regular season. This time I'm with you. I can't wait for next regular season for the Broncos because I got some higher hopes this year.
Higher hopes. That's what we're trying to figure out. Guys, we are the best place for Broncos coverage. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com, and we will rock with you next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain. For Scott, he's Tom, I'm Luke. Broncos country into Mobile. This is the way.
This is the way.